You don't have to be camera shy. You're too cute for that. The whole world's gonna think you're cute.
Holy moly.
Thank you.
Well, son of a gun. Alright. Just put that right there.
What is it?
It was the mirror.
Oh.
I just knocked over like 2 or 3 things trying to set the mirror down out of the way. It went really well. Hi guys, how are you doing?
Welcome back to our channel. Well, if you're new here, I'm Karina.
I'm Tyler.
And this is TJ.
He doesn't have much to say.
No.
Not at the moment.
Mm-mm. Make sure.
He's kind of hitting that milk coma life.
Yeah. Okay, so as you can tell by the title of this video, we are going to be explaining to you guys what happened with the labor and the delivery and why there's no footage of it and just
why it's taken us so long to get this video made.
Yes. So that's all we're going to be talking about in this. I will get a like postpartum video up soon, and I will get him a like 1 month update because he will be 1 month on Monday. So I'll have all that for you, but they will be in separate videos. So March 2nd, because I think that was that Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 3rd, 4th. Yeah, March 2nd. That evening around 5-ish, I started having some pretty decent contractions over at my mom's.
It was a gnarly experience.
But they weren't in my stomach. I wasn't having... Hi, bud. Do you hear me talking? They weren't contractions in my stomach. They were all... The painful ones were in my back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Let's see how he handles that.
Okay. Not good.
Not well.
Not well.
Yes. And bloop.
So my aunt and my cousin had came in from West Virginia, and they were over there, and like I said, I was having contractions in my back, and so we went on a walk to see if we could get them more painful, because my mom kept saying, well, both my mom and my aunt kept saying, they're not painful enough, you know, you're not in labor, you'll know when it hits. So we went for a walk, tried to get them to be more intense, didn't work. And then they quit, and then about an hour and a half later, they came back. And they lasted for about an hour, and then it quit, and then about another 2 hours we were in the bedroom and they started again, and this time it was like even more painful in my back, and I was actually like, it was knocking the breath out of me, and I was calling my mom and I was calling his mom asking for opinions, and just when we were thinking about going to the hospital, they quit. So then this puts us into Sunday, March 3rd. And this was the day we did not want to go into labor at all, because my doctor was going to be in Alabama at a concert. I didn't go into labor. But I did nest, and I felt so bad for him because I redid the whole bedroom, and he had to help because obviously I couldn't move the furniture. But so I was like, I wanted to redo the whole bedroom. I was cleaning out drawers. I was rearranging drawers. I was dusting the living room, vacuuming all the floors. I scrubbed down the bathroom. I scrubbed down the kitchen.
There was a lot of cleaning.
It was a lot. And his dad had told me, when you start nesting, you'll know that, like, that'll be it. Because probably within, like, 24 to 72 hours, you'll go into labor. So, Monday, we went in for my 38-week appointment. And they did the ultrasound scan, but they didn't take the weight that time, did they?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do the weight. But then Dr. Harnsberger was like, have you had any contractions? And we were like, yeah, Saturday night. And he was like, well, do you want me to check you? And I was like, sure. And so he checked me, and he said that I was basically at a 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he was done checking me, there was blood. And he never, I don't think he ever, did he ever say, like, what the blood meant? I don't think he did. He just looked at the nurse, his nurse.
I think that probably just means that you were, like, super faced. Like, it was, like, your uterine lining was, like, super thin.
He never said that. Like, we didn't think to ask what the effacement was on that either.
Yeah. That's what I would assume is just, like, you know, he did his check and he was like, yo, dang, there's really nothing there.
Yeah.
And then you're...
I don't know if I...
4 centimeter dilated.
I don't know if I ever lost my mucus plug, so I don't know if that's what they, like, would have been, like, the bloody show. I don't know. He didn't really say. He just looked at his nurse, and they were just kind of looking at each other like, yeah, like, it's go time. So he sat down, and he was like, you want to have this baby today? And
which
I
kind of took us both off
well,
guard.
I kind of thought he was kidding just at first. And I was like, sure, whenever you're ready to deliver him. And he was like, well, how have your contractions been? And so I was telling him, and I was like, but I've been hurting more in my back, because I had people telling me that, like, my back pain wasn't contractions. And he was like, no, you're having more contractions than you think you are. Like, if it hurts in your back, you're just one of those people that are having, like, back labor. And he was like, well, I tell you what, he said, this check will probably put you into active labor. And I had told him, because I got to the point where I couldn't pee anymore. If I sat down to go pee, he was so low and so heavy that it just cut off my urethra, and I couldn't pee.
You're just bound and determined not to have that in your mouth, huh? You're gonna scream at us, aren't you? Yeah.
So I couldn't pee, and I was telling my doctor that, you know, the only way I could pee was standing up. So I would either have to put a towel between my legs, or I'd have to go stand in the shower and pee. When I said that, he was like, yeah, no, you're having this baby today. So he basically told us to go home, get our stuff ready, get a bite to eat, you know, whatever, just be at the hospital by that evening. So we came home. Well, we went and got lunch at Yellow Deli. And then we came home, and I was still nesting. I think I folded almost, 3 loads of laundry before we went in?
Yeah.
I took a shower. I folded a little laundry. I took a shower, shaved my legs, washed my hair, came out and folded 2 more loads of laundry. Well, then at that point, diarrhea had, like, set in, so then I came out and I told him, I was like, okay, I'm going to finish folding this last load of laundry, and then I think we need to go. And so we got to the hospital at about 3, and we were in the monitoring room. And this is still Monday. This is still the same day. We were in the monitoring room for about an hour. And then the nurse came in, and she was like, yeah, there's no way that which we knew that they weren't going to send us home anyways, because Dr. Harnsberger had already told us that he wouldn't send me home at a 4. So, the nurse was like, they're not going to send you home with, you know, how regular your contractions are. I wasn't feeling them. And Dr. Harnsberger had called back and gave them the green light to go ahead and admit me. So that was at 4 they admitted me, and then he came up at like 4:45 or 5:45 and broke my water. That was an experience.
Yeah, that was weird.
You could hear it pop on the monitor, like, when he did it. It was really weird. But then when I had went in at one point on one of my checks, like 36-week check or something like that, and the nurse practitioner had told me that he was so low that I probably wouldn't know when my water broke. No, I knew. And
Definitely knew.
yeah, so this is when, at this point, this is when stuff kind of got really chaotic because,
Well, it happened very fast.
yes, because he was already up, the doctor was already upset because he had called in way before he got there for the lab to go ahead and come up and do my labs, and they hadn't. I was supposed to go ahead and have my labs drawn so I could have my epidural before he broke my water, and they hadn't done it. So he was not happy. So I think he actually went and probably chewed out the lab because as soon as he broke my water, it wasn't, 10 minutes? And they came up and took my labs.
Yeah, it was like he walked in the room and they had. Was this? Yeah, because that happened before they took before they did your epidural, right?
Right.
Yeah, so he walked in and, he was like, okay, we're going to send the epidural up, like, waiting on your labs to come back, to see what, how everything's looking. And the nurse, who was very sweet, was kind of like, they haven't come up to do her labs yet.
Yeah.
And he looked at her and was like, What? Like, they haven't? I asked for that a long time ago. And she was like, yeah, they're just kind of taking their time. And he was like, well, that's kind of not okay because, like, they're coming up here to do her epidural, like, ASAP. So we actually, like, we ended up getting the epidural done before we even got our labs in.
No, they did the labs before they did the epidural.
Oh, okay.
They ended up coming up. But he was, like, apologizing to me because they hadn't done my labs and I hadn't had my...
You're right, though.
And I hadn't had my epidural yet. And I was like, dude, it's okay. So he went ahead and broke my water. And then we got the labs done. And he was like, we'll get you your epidural as soon as possible. Well, once they broke my water... As you can tell in the video before this one, the contractions were real.
Yeah.
It wasn't the worst pain of my life. And I don't know how much worse it would have gotten. I don't know if they actually get more painful or if they just seem like they get more painful because they start lasting longer. But I think my contractions were lasting about a minute long. They were 2 minutes apart and lasting a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Something like that.
I would definitely take contractions at least for a certain amount of time before I would ever have my eardrum rupture again. That was still the worst pain I think I've ever experienced in my life. But I only had to endure that. Well, so I only had the full stomach contractions for 50 minutes. He came up and he did my epidural, and Tyler got to be in the room. And that was weird because when he was putting the catheter in, at one point I thought I moved. I thought I jumped, and both the nurse, the anesthesiologist, and Tyler all were like, no, you never moved.
Mm-hmm.
I think he actually said I was one of the best people he'd ever had. One, just because I was an easy, stick.
Yeah.
He was able to find it really quick and got it in really fast, and the needle's like that freaking long, and he said usually like that much of it goes into the patient. He said like that much of it went into me.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that was honestly one of the just a blip on the day. It just didn't last very long at all, and it went very smooth. He was very, the anesthesiologist was very deliberate with how vocal he was. He talked a lot to her.
Yeah.
Let her know what he was doing, let her know when he was going to be doing it. He showed her all of the equipment that she wanted to see. A lot of women, they don't want to see that needle.
I will say he wouldn't let me see it though until after the epidural was done.
But he walked us through the whole thing. He had me involved when I pushed down on her, pushing down on her shoulders just to kind of keep her
my back
arched.
Yeah.
in the right way, and also, I mean, I imagine probably to kind of keep her from moving, because I imagine that a lot of ladies will tend to try to get a little jumpy.
He did say that.
But yeah, that was a nerve-wracking, but like really kind of painless experience.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. And I will say, getting the epidural was, when they put the catheter in, it was a little uncomfortable. But it wasn't painful. It was just a little uncomfortable. It was like a little zing, and then it was done. But then was feeling pretty good, except the epidural didn't want to take on my left side, and my mom was the same way. It wouldn't take on her left side either. So let me tell you guys how this went down. Oh man. Okay. So they kept, like, if this is me laying on my back, they kept turning me just a little bit. They'd turn me a little bit, and then they'd have me push the button, because I could push the button every 20 minutes. And it would take a little bit, but still not all the way. So then they come and they turn me just a little bit more. And then I push the button. And then they turn me a little bit more. And then I push the button. Well, finally, that was like the third time. Finally, the fourth time, the nurse came in to like elevate me. And I looked at her and I said, can we just completely put me on my left side? I said, because every time you turn me, it's working, but I think we're going to have to just completely put me on my side. So she was like, yeah, that's fine. We can do that. It took about 30 minutes later, she came back in and was like, well, we're going to try rolling you over on your right side. And I was like, that's fine. And she was like, and if for some reason your epidural starts to like wear off on your left side, page me, let me know. We'll put you back on your left side, and we'll get the anesthesiologist back up here, and we'll have him, I don't remember what she said they were going to do, but she said that there was a couple things he could do to try and fix it. Never had another issue out of it. But oh my goodness, was I numb.
She couldn't feel anything.
She came in a little later with the bag of Pitocin and was like, Dr. Harnsberger wants me to start you on this Pitocin if you haven't progressed. And so she checked me and she was like, oh God, okay, no, you're at like a 6 now. And this wasn't even like probably an hour and a half later. Because I think we were at like 7 o'clock, 7:30 at this point.
Yeah. I think that's about when they said you were at a 6.
Yeah. And so they didn't need to start me on the Pitocin. I think she did hang it up just in case, but they never started me on it. So here we are, waiting for his mother to get there. And I don't know, it was probably 8:45-ish came around, and she comes in to check me. He was like, no, I was an 8. I was an 8, not a 9. I was at 8 at 9 o'clock. Anyways, he calls his mom and was like, hey, so where are you? And she was like, oh, I'm about to leave the house. She lives like 25 minutes away from this hospital.
Yeah, with no.
And she was like, why? What's up? And he was like, she's at an 8. And his mom was like, what?
Yeah, she progressed so fast. And the crazy thing is, like, my mom was supposed to be bringing us food for, like, post-delivery. And the restaurant that she was going to be bringing us food from closed at 10, and she didn't bother to leave the house until, like, 9.
It was 9:15.
9:15. So that was a whole other thing that we don't really need to include in the video. But I was just kind of like, when I called you the last time, she was already at a 6. You'd progressed,
and it wasn't
2 centimeters in like an hour and a half, and 9 o'clock rolls around, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're at an 8," and I'm like,
"You need to get here."
You need to get here, and she just like there wasn't a super whole lot of like, yeah. Anyway, she made it.
So, his mom's like freaking out at this point because I even heard her. He was across the room, and I even heard her, like, not screaming but talking very loudly. And she goes, "I thought she had longer than that. It's her first baby." Yeah. So, they were going to check me again at 11 because 8, 9, 10, I've been, every 2 hours, about 2 centimeters every hour and a half, 2 hours or so. Well, they kept telling me, even the anesthesiologist, you know, they were like, okay, you're not going to feel any pain, but you're going to feel pressure. So at this point, the nurse was like, if you start feeling pressure to push, let me know. And I was like, okay. About 30 minutes went by. Oh, I scared him. I'm sorry, bud. About 30 minutes went by, and my legs were so numb, and I had restless leg syndrome. I was having him just like periodically like tap my leg like that just to try to like ease the sensation.
Yeah.
And they were like tingling like when your feet go numb. It was awful, guys. I never want to be that numb again. So when they told me I was at an 8, my mom was like, "Well, you probably should push that button more." I was like, "Mm-mm. No, I had already pushed it when they told me I was at a 6, like an hour and a half ago. I was like, no, you guys don't understand. I am so numb. I couldn't even feel her checking me. I was that numb. So, you know, I'm laying here and I'm waiting to feel pressure. And at one point, I thought I kind of felt, I don't know, just all of a sudden I kind of felt weird. And so he's on the phone with his mom again about this food. And we're like, do I stop? Do I not stop? Do I get there? Like, what am I doing? And the weirdness finally passed. So I was like, no, I think she's got some time. Go ahead and stop and get the food. So she stops and she gets there. And the host that she put the order with didn't send it back to the kitchen. She just went home. So this food's not even done. And I guess his mom's in there and she's like, no, look, you don't understand. If this food's not done right now, I've got to go. Because my daughter-in-law is about to sneeze out this baby. So long story short, she didn't get the food because she wasn't going to wait for it. So she got to the hospital and he ran out to go meet her so he could walk her back. And I'm laying there thinking, oh God, he better make it back in time.
I wasn't going to miss that.
Well, I didn't know how fast, though, like, it was going to happen, and I had started feeling weird again.
Yeah.
So Dr. Harnsberger came in, like, 10:40-ish, 20 minutes early to check me. And, I mean, literally, he went, okay, we need to hurry up and get her in some practice pushes because we're about to catch this baby. Yeah. So I did 3 practice pushes. And then the nurse was like, all the other nurses were like running in, setting up the room really fast while I'm doing some of these practice pushes. I did 3 and she was like, you got to stop because if you do one more, the baby's head's literally going to be like out of you. And, which I was even surprised that I was pushing as good as they said I was because I couldn't freaking feel anything, you guys. Like, I cannot stress that I never want to be that numb again. And so she has someone run out to get Dr. Harnsberger, and he comes in the room, and he's, like, putting all of his stuff on, and I started pushing at 11:02, and this baby was born at 11:07. So, he was born at 11:07, he was 8 pounds, 5 ounces, and 20 and a half inches. At 38 weeks, so if he would have went to 40, he would have been closer to like a 10-pound baby.
He was a healthy chunk.
So, yes.
You're still a healthy chunk.
Thank God that my doctor is not one of those that makes you go until 40 weeks. And he told me too when they weighed him, he was like, yeah, I kind of figured that's about what he was going to weigh because throughout the entire pregnancy, he was gaining anywhere from a half a pound to a pound a week. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, he was measuring consistently ahead of his due date, pretty much. As soon as there was something like
to measure.
Like to measure.
You spit it out. You want it back? You want it back? No? Oh, maybe. Yep. Okay, there you go. So, this is 11:07, and then I asked him how bad I tore, and he said not bad. I think they considered it a first-degree tear, which nobody could believe because of how big he was. The poor kid came out purple and swollen and bruised. which is why he was purple. But that all went down. By the time we left the hospital, he was looking much, much better. So we actually had to wait, and we weren't allowed to film the labor anyways, but I was gonna try to hide the camera somewhere and at least see what I couldn't, capture, even if it was just sound. I don't even know if I don't even think we had brought the GoPro up, because we just...
Well, we brought the GoPro up, we didn't bring it in.
We brought it... I know we took, but it was still out in the car, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we thought, we were going to have more time than what we had to kind of do everything. Was that funny? So yeah, we didn't even get the GoPro. And honestly, the room wasn't super big, so there really wasn't going to be a whole lot of places to set it up.
Yeah. Not that would have offered any kind of camouflage.
We will be much more prepared for the next baby, because we have kind of an idea now of how things work. But anyways, apparently that whole weekend they just got bombarded with...
Yeah, they had I think when we walked in, they had six women in active labor, and by the time we had our baby, they had another 4 walk in.
I think I was still in... I think I was in the labor and delivery room for 2 hours before they could move me over to a mother-baby room, because they just didn't have any. And in that 2-hour time frame, his mom had left to go get us some food, and she came back with McDonald's. We ate. I didn't eat really much of it. I had a really bad headache, such a bad headache, but he ate, and then he had to take my mom and my little sister home. And that was probably a 20-minute drive, so almost an hour by the time it was all said and done. And I had just gotten into the labor and delivery room, into the mother-baby room, when he called to let me know he was on his way. So I'd only been in there 20 minutes by the time he got back up. And then this was going on 2 in the morning at this point.
It was very, very late. Are you smiling?
Yeah.
Are you smiling, kid?
And so I had been up since 5 o'clock. I keep scaring you. Come here.
I think I scared him that time.
I had been up since 5 o'clock Monday morning. Because I just woke up, I don't know, I just woke up and I woke up ready to have the baby. I was just I don't know, I just had a feeling. And so they asked, do you want us to keep him in the nursery or do you want him back in here? And I felt bad to say it, but I was like, no, just keep him in the nursery for a little bit. I was so tired. Plus, they had given me hydrocodone for my headache, and I didn't even think to tell them to only give me half of it because I'm really sensitive to stuff like that. So I was so loopy. So freaking loopy. And I was actually laying there because he was worried. Do you want to tell them what you were worried about? And then when I was like, oh, I miss him, then it made you feel better?
Well,
he was worried at first because when I was pregnant, I didn't...
Oh, yeah. I gotcha. So, all through the pregnancy, and this wasn't really something that I don't think we ever talked about in the videos, but she was kind of worried that she wasn't going to have an instant connection with TJ when he came out. She just felt like she was going to be disconnected from him and not have much interest in spending time around him, which I know is something that mothers go through. But he came and they put us in our mother baby room and they kind of took him off to do some poking and prodding and clean him up real good and get him all situated for the night. And they kind of asked us do you want do you want us to keep him overnight, or do you want us to bring him back, or what do you want us to do? And kind of by my suggestion, because like she said, she was loopy. I was like, why don't you go ahead and keep him for the night?
Mm-hmm.
And if we wake up and we're just like, we really want to be around him, we'll come and get him for a little bit, and then we'll bring him back to you. Well, he wasn't gone. Maybe, I don't know, maybe an hour.
Oh, if
maybe an hour.
Maybe an hour.
Fizz, don't knock over the camera, please. Thank you. And Karina looked over at me. We'd been talking about the day's events, obviously. She kind of looked over at me. She was like, "Baby." I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "I miss him." It's like, I want to go get him." And I was like, and she was still really loopy from the hydrocodone. So I was kind of like, "Baby, why don't we? I know that you miss him, but why don't we try to get some rest and maybe sleep this hydrocodone and this headache off, and we'll grab him in the morning." And she kind of agreed with me that was a good idea. And then I fell asleep, and then I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 hours later, I woke up and she had asked for him back, and he was already in the room. So
I got about 2 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
And when the nurse came in, it was like 5. I woke up at like 4:30, and I talked to my dad a little bit, and then the nurse came in at like 5 or 6, something like that. To give me some medicine and change out my ice pack and rub my, you guys know, all the stuff that they do. And I was like, am I allowed to, go get him? And she was like, oh yeah, I'll bring him to you. So he came back in, and even the next night, that second night we were there, I really aimed for him that night to only be in there, because I thought I would do the same thing. I thought I would only sleep for maybe 3-4 hours, and then and I'd walk down there and I'd go get him and bring him back to the room. Yeah, I accidentally slept for like 7 or 8 hours. Actually, I fell asleep with the light and the TV on and him watching a basketball game, and I never fall asleep with the TV on. I was out.
Yeah, we were tuckered out. Both of us were tuckered out.
But I think that's it. But that's kind of, why we didn't get to really film anything. As you guys could see from the last video, we started to film some stuff, and everything just happened so fast that they actually told me that baby number 2, I better not waste any time getting to the hospital, because I'll probably sneeze it out.
Mm-hmm.
So that was funny. And then outside of that, the reason why it's taken us so long to get this done, it's
just so much crap going
on. So, we left the hospital, and then on a Wednesday, and that was the other thing. My discharge got canceled on Wednesday because I don't want to say I was having issues breathing, but I just had really bad tightness in my chest. And I had talked to my doctor's partner, the other doctor that he works with, and he had told me that morning that, because he was the one doing the rounds, that it was probably just muscle fatigue, because I was so little and I had such a big baby, not to worry about it. He listened to my lungs, it all sounded good. Well, my nurse got wind of that before it was time for me to leave, and she calls Dr. Harnsberger, my doctor, and told him, and purposely did not tell Dr. Harnsberger that I had talked to the other doctor that morning, and that he gave me the okay. Because she said she knew that if she would have done that, he would have went ahead and let me go home, and she wanted him to have some tests run on me, which I was appreciative of, that, she didn't want me leaving there with potentially something life-threatening, going on. But at the same time, I really just wish she would have.
Yeah. By that time, we were both just so ready to be back home and in our own bed.
Yeah.
And it's just...
And hungry. I was so hungry.
2 or 3 hour delay just kind of...
Oh, I was crying. I was so upset. So they ended up running an EKG, and then they ended up running an x-ray to make sure that there wasn't extra fluid in my lungs. And it all came back okay. So luckily, she called Dr. Harnsberger, and he was like, you can let her go home. So I got to go ahead and go home, which technically I could have walked out of that hospital anyways because I'd already signed the discharge papers. And so once you do that...
Oh, hubbly bubbly.
I think he's still hungry.
Is he really?
Yeah. So once you do that, you don't... I could have walked out and my insurance would have covered it. But anyways, so that was a thing. So we got home. Then that Friday we had his first appointment. You didn't work that... Did you work that weekend?
Mm-mm.
You were off for a whole nother week. My dad came down that weekend for the whole week to visit. And then the day that we were going to film this, which was that following Tuesday, we went and played some golf, and his mom actually watched TJ for a little bit. And while we were on the golf course, I got wind that my great-grandmother passed away, just kind of, not really randomly. She took a fall the day before in a parking lot, and they had her in the ICU because they couldn't get her blood pressure stabilized. And so that Tuesday morning, they knew that they were going to have to put a stent in, so they were just kind of waiting on her blood pressure to be okay, and she was with it, and then the next thing, they said that she was with it 1 minute, and the next thing they know, she just died. And that was really, really, really hard on really everyone in my family. She was very, very loved.
Kind of the fulcrum that...
Mm-hmm. She was kind of the peanut butter that really held everyone together. And then, I handled it pretty good, but I don't know. I don't want to say I was depressed. I did beat myself up all last week, though, because she didn't get to meet him. And that was the last time I saw her. That was, like, what she had asked. She was like, when he's born, like, you know, bring him over so I can see him. And I was like, I will, Granny, don't worry, but his passing just fell. Here it is. Yeah.
You want me to go make a bottle?
Yeah.
How much?
Well, take the one in the refrigerator.
Just heat it up.
No, don't heat all of it up. Dump it over into... Dump an ounce over. Into a bottle.
And then heat it up.
And then heat it up, yeah. We're getting it, Bubba. We're getting it. We're getting it. We're getting it. So she didn't get to meet him because my aunt and uncle that lived with her, because she was going blind, my uncle had gotten the flu and bronchitis. Well, as soon as he was getting over it, my aunt caught the flu. So then as soon as she was getting over it, my granny didn't know if it was allergies or if she was trying to come down with a cold, and my granny was just like, no, you're not bringing that baby over here while we're all sick. Would not let me bring him over, and then she passed away right after, you know, just he was like 2 weeks.
This doesn't have water in it, does it?
No. So, she didn't get to meet him, and I was pretty bummed out about that, but... Did you just want to be held? But that's basically it, as far as the labor and delivery goes, and kind of why it's taken us so long to get this up. Oh yeah, and then we ended up going up to Indiana Sunday, this past Sunday night, and we just got back yesterday, which when you guys see this, when this goes up, it'll be Friday, so for you guys, we got back in town on late Wednesday night, because we're filming this on Thursday, on the 28th.
Mm-hmm.
We took him up there to meet my grandma and grandpa Brooks, so my dad's mom and dad, because my grandpa, he's not necessarily going downhill fast, but in a way he kind of is.
He's older.
Yeah. Alright, so I think the GoPro died. Either that or it ran out of memory. Anyways, we've had one scare with my grandfather. Didn't think he was going to make it. He pulled through. Didn't want to lose another grandparent and them not get to meet him. So we just went up there. But anyways, that is it. I will, like I said, be getting a couple more videos up very soon. And yeah, I look a hot mess. Ignore that. He fell asleep. He always does this. We go to make his freaking bottle and then he falls. But anyways, so yeah, stay tuned. We'll have some cuteness with him in it coming up. We got a clip of his first bath. I'll have that up, and yeah, so anyways, Tyler's not here to exit this video, so I guess I'll be doing it. Anyways, we love you all. There he is. And we will see you next time. Bye.